I do believe that Canada is a short and will be a short for quite some time. But you can see the Canadian dollar is having a pretty tough go of it here. And I would imagine this is only going to get worse as time goes by. If we look at the daily chart, might be interesting. Yeah, I mean, clearly you can see that's heading in one direction. We potentially had a big W come in here, and you can see, if you ever notice, the big message is, if you ever see the market smiling at you, our message is that the market's probably getting ready to take your money. Now, if you want to take this to the next level, what I have personally found is if you ever see a smile within a smile, almost like the right-hand side of the smile is winking at you, that is an extremely powerful trade location right there, folks. As you can see, the smile within the smile, I mean, you could make an argument too, there's probably some play with trend lines here, but very, very bearish signal right here, and sure enough, Canadian dollar's crapping out here. So, you can even see it over here. You had this big top here, then a bottom, then a top, and notice the little smile within a smile. And what's the end result? So, really good tradable information that you can use to help you sort of understand. Yeah, I mean, maybe you take the trade, maybe you don't, but at the very least, at least you can hear the market's message. I mean, when you see these little smiles within the bigger smiles, the market's really trying to talk to us. The question at the end of the day is, are we actually listening to what the market is saying? And at the same time that this was all happening, the central banksters in Canada come out and publicly say, we are not going to raise interest rates anymore. And the ultimate question is, in our Fakezi fiat currency world, how do you actually value this yellow line? How do you actually determine that there's going to be more demand and the price of this yellow line is going to go up, or, the value of this yellow line is going to go up, or there's less demand and the value of this yellow line is going to go down? And the answer in our screwy fiat world is it's purely a function of, are the central banksters going to be paying you more to hold their currency, i.e. higher short-term interest rates, or are they going to be paying you less to hold the paper? Because that's really all this is it's just an IOU. And so, great anecdote. If you can connect the dots, banksters say we're not going to raise interest rates anymore. And interestingly enough, that's exactly what they've done. So, hey, at least they're to their word. Bank of Canada, where's Bank of Canada interest rate decision? We are not raising rates, and indeed they did. So what does the market say? The market says, well, the Americans are talking about raising their interest rates. They're going to pay us more to own the U.S. paper than to own this Canadian paper. Do I want to own the U.S. or the Canadian paper, or do I want to just get the heck out and I'll go buy U.S. T-bills that are going to pay me a higher rate of return? It's just that simple, folks. And that actually is what we call rational analysis, where you connect the dots of what fundamentally is going on in the marketplace with the technical picture, smiles within smiles, and you see the end result, which actually turned out to be probably a pretty good trade. And, sadly, let's take a look at the broader picture. Do we have sort of a theme going on here? Lower highs and lower lows. Now we're looking at weekly price charts, and I'll tell you, weekly commodity trend survey, you hear me talk about that lots with you guys, in the crypto space and stuff lately. But it also, I started doing this in the commodities pits when I was a commodities broker. And I'll tell you, that's a damn big sell signal out of the Canadian dollar there. Interestingly enough, the worst part about this, and Meg, you're going to love this, is that this, unfortunately, is highly inflationary for Canada. I don't know. Meg, you're here with you, all right? Yeah, there she is. How are those prices at the grocery store doing for us Canadians these days? How's it going? Is it getting any better? I thought it was interesting. It's so bad now, and yet, unfortunately, people don't understand that if you go and dilute the crap out of your currency and you go massively into debt, that's going to erode the value of the currency. Under the conservative, more conservative government in the past, Canada's currency actually hit a relative high versus the US dollar. But interestingly enough, wow, what a great example of that smile within a smile, eh? And this is on the long-term top. But notice, can you guys see? Look at this cool little smile within a smile right there. I mean, that is exactly that whole concept that I just talked about a moment ago. But why was the Canadian dollar going up like this so much? And the irony of it all is because it was through this period, the Canadian government was actually paying down its debt. And when it was paying down its debt under a conservative government, the currency was flying, and that was actually very deflationary. And of course, Canadians enjoyed a very good standard of living here. I can tell you right now, under this scenario, and of course, substitute drama teachers don't understand any of this because they're substitute drama teachers. That's a bad sign for the capital stock of the Canadian country. But anyway, it is what it is. But interestingly enough, on a side note, this is actually what's supposed to happen this part of the cycle. And this should happen. This should carry on for probably about the next 10, 15 years. And really what this is checks and balances. Canadian economy was so, I mean, hell, through 2010 Olympics, this is when Mr. Trump came to Vancouver and he was like, oh my God, I got to buy this thing. And he just went and bought a property and boom, instantly put up a Trump Tower. I mean, and Canadian real estate was all the rage. Everybody was in love with Canada. You know, we always say, kind of a side note, what's the cure for high prices, right? You might argue Canadian dollar well above the US dollar. It's some pretty high prices. Well, the cure for high prices is high prices. And boom, down goes the Canadian dollar. So you might even call this a self-correcting mechanism. It is taking care of itself. The only problem is, and probably all you long-term followers of me, you should look at this chart and say, well, doesn't that look like one of those bot things that Beamish guy's always barking about? So we can actually give you an idea of where this Canadian dollar is going. This should be a little scary. Boom, and this should probably be more like after party conversation. So I'm going to put the levels on here. So there we go. So the ultimate destination for the Canadian dollar. Actually interesting. Look how we're getting that M coming in right off the bot short entry level too. I'm not going to show you, but I can tell you absolutely without a shadow of a doubt. You know, Klaus's Great Reset, Trudeau, and his insanely idiotic fiscal policy here, it is going to expedite the collapse in this Canadian dollar.